Hi, everyone, and I'd like to welcome you to week two, module two of our um, IT376 class. And I want to talk to you this week about our reading assignment that we're going to be going over, and that's going to be chapter two, project methodologies and processes. I want to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up. You are getting a slower start into the book and into the chapters, but by week three or module three, things will pick up. As a matter of fact, your homework assignment for module three and module four and module five will begin to get a little more intense. So please be sure that you are planning accordingly your time. I don't want you to think that the class is going to be pretty easy going throughout the rest of it. And things will pick up here pretty quick starting in module three. So here's what you need to know, and here's where you probably need to focus your attention on the reading this week. Um, PMI, Project Management Institute, is the leading body for certification of professional project managers and for developing something called the PMBOK, or the Project Management Body of Knowledge. They tend to be that number one organization in terms of creating and defining project management processes and methodology. They are not the only project management methodology, but they tend to be pretty important, a pretty important player in the industry. So the PMI has 10 knowledge areas, and as you can see by this image here, what the 10 knowledge areas are. And one of the things that we find is that in these 10 knowledge areas, they overlap over what are called 5 process groups. Now, the PMI's 5 process groups include initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and then closing. These 5 process groups, these knowledge areas, indeed may go and have actions or activities that are put into play across all of these different process groups. And that kind of gets us into talking about the project life cycle. Really, the project life cycle is about the phases of how the work will be performed. And that goes through initiating, planning, and executing. But more to the point, what deliverables will be produced during what phases? What's the milestones for our project? Of course, we're going to have initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, but in each individual project, there will be specific phases as the project moves along. There will be specific milestones that will be achieved as the project moves along, and there may be specific deliverables along that project life cycle. So when you take all of these things together, the knowledge areas, the process groups, and then the project life cycle, we create a methodology for executing a project from start to finish. And something you want to know is that a deliverable is a product or service produced as part of the project. Deliverables can be multiple types of things that can be delivered at multiple times throughout the project. It doesn't need to be one specific thing that is the deliverable. Just your project management documents throughout the project, like your risk management plan, for example, may end up being a deliverable that at a specific point and phase in the project would be delivered to the project sponsor for review. So that's just something to consider, as well as maybe you were developing something so that you were developing a system, and then at a particular point in time, a certain amount of the system would be available to the project sponsor for a walkthrough. That might be a deliverable. And it doesn't have to be the complete, total end piece of the project. Okay, so some things that you want to know as you're reading through. You want to know, what is the project management life cycle and why is it important? What is a methodology? Methodology, what is that? What does it mean when we say a methodology? It's kind of a set of processes or rules or procedures or methods or some way that we're going to execute along a path. Who is the PMI, Project Management Institute? What do they do? What are their specific contributions to the area of knowledge management? What are the PMI process groups and what are the PMI knowledge areas? And what is the PMBOK? The PMBOK is that project management body of knowledge that was developed by the PMI. Now, PMI is not the only organization, as I mentioned earlier. There are other organizations that have project management methodologies, and one of them is Prince 2. So I want you to understand what is Prince 2 and how is it different from the PMI methodology, and so you have a little background on the differences there. What are the Prince 2 processes, themes, and principles? What is a systems development life cycle, or the SDLC? Now, if you've taken IT461, then you've done the systems analysis class, and the SDLC should be fairly familiar to you. You should also be able to understand the difference between a PLC and the SDLC, the project management life cycle versus the systems development life cycle. What are the unique differences between those two? What when I say waterfall and when I say agile, what do I mean in terms of the SDLC? And also, what are lessons learned? All right, so that's all I have on the reading for this week. Continue on to the next video where we will discuss assignments. I'll see you there.